All right, guys, welcome back to the pit. I'm Christopher Black, along with my co-founder, Vision here. And today we have a special guest. We have Archie Cade stepping into the pit with us. Archie is the CEO and founder of TTT Markets. Archie, how you doing today?
Chris, Vision, thank you. Yeah, it's good. I'm all good over here.
Wonderful,
Good,
man.
good.
Wonderful.
Well,
Um,
thank you. Thanks for having me on board.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Pleasure to have you. So, Archie, myself and Vision, we followed you on TTT Markets. It's a very beautiful thing that you do. You actually post a lot about the journey of building TTT Markets. So, tell us a little bit about that, about the journey, what got you started, and I guess what sparked that belief that you could really build in this space.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, as we were just discussing before we hit record, I wanted to try and document a little bit more of the progress on LinkedIn so that we
Hmm.
can track how things progress. Because as I was saying,
Hmm.
things move in this space incredibly quick, and they
Yeah.
have done here as well on my end with my team over the last few years.
Yeah.
Things have been moving drastically. I mean, everything's grown and it's beautiful to see. But yeah, 4 years ago we launched TTT Markets, December 2022,
Hmm.
and 2023 was a crazy year, just very slow and steady, but with my
Hmm.
existing community and people that I met online.
Hmm.
And then, 2024 things massively changed in the industry, meta quotes, lots of changes there. And then
Yeah.
2025, we had a very, very strong year of onboarding
Hmm.
and, revamping our design. And then here we are in 2026, March 2026, where, we've launched now free trials, we've got GBP accounts, Euro accounts, and things have,
Hmm.
grown quite quickly. So yeah, it started off as a little firm back when there were probably, 15 firms in the space. And now there's loads of firms in the space. I think someone mentioned on LinkedIn there's now over 2,000 firms in the space.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, it's becoming more difficult to differentiate yourself.
Hmm.
But, since we've been here, from 2022, 2023, we've built up quite a really amazing community and audience. So yeah, there we go. That's where we are.
That's
Sure.
amazing. Yeah, and so you guys have actually been around for all of the I guess the different eras of the space. At one point things were booming. At another point, the space was in a little bit of a pullback,
Yeah.
especially with the meta quotes. And just kind of talk about the changing demands that you've seen from 2022 to now 2026. Just in terms of, nowadays traders, they kind of understand what happens under the hood.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they didn't really understand it. So just kind of talk about those demands and how that might have, I don't know, kind of drifted
Yeah.
into what you guys do at TTT Markets.
Yeah. I mean, on our previous call when Vision and I were speaking,
Hmm.
back in the days, let's say 2023, people would buy any firm at any
Hmm.
point. There wasn't
Mhm.
there wasn't a great supply of prop firms. So the
Yeah.
rules were very similar. This
Hmm.
was back in the days where, time limits were a thing and
Mhm.
pretty much the
Yeah,
two-step model, if you
that
guys
was that
remember.
was treacherous, by the way.
That was yeah, it was the only it was the only thing though in the space, right?
Yeah.
It was the only thing. You had a two-step model, you had time limits,
Hmm.
you had to reach them. I was a trader myself as well.
Yeah.
This is what got me into the space. I was a
Hmm.
trader myself 4 or 5 years ago. And I still enjoy the process of prop trading, but back in the day, that was my income. That's how I made money. And I was
Hmm.
trading with some of the top firms in the space. So then we had a few firms that went under my Forex funds, the prop trading, a few of those names, closed their doors to onboarding new traders and accounts were frozen.
Hmm.
And that shaped things up for me personally, which then forced me to build TTT Markets
Hmm.
and offer something for our community that was good and solid and reputable that we
Hmm.
could control. Back in the day, of course, people were trading on other broker servers, right? No one had a MetaTrader 5 license or MetaTrader
Yeah.
4 license. That wasn't really a thing either. So people were trading
Hmm.
at 8 cap or other firms.
Yeah.
And, the prop was just on top of the broker and providing the server. Then,
Mhm.
as you said, we had the MetaQuotes issues where MetaQuotes pulled back the licenses and said to all traders, all prop firms, should I say, you can't be doing this. You can't be, and particularly to the brokers that had the MetaTrader 5 licenses to begin with, said you can't
Yeah.
offer your server to prop. So then
Hmm.
all of the prop firms lost their servers very, very quickly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that then meant that other platforms like Match Trader, Trade Locker, C Trader, really came to light because, props needed another solution.
yeah, yeah.
And then it's come the full circle now, where
Hmm.
props can have their own MetaTrader 5 licenses, and it's forced props to be a little bit more professional and institutional. And I don't know what you guys think, but I believe that 2025, from the sort of middle of 2025 onwards to now, it's probably been the cleanest time for the industry in many shapes. You don't
Hmm.
see firms suddenly having to migrate, let's say, 10,000 traders onto a new
Yeah.
server.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
the space has changed and I think it's matured. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I want to. I have a point to that, especially in that time window that you just gave. We talk about this a lot, Vision, in terms of
Yeah.
um, just seeing how the space has kind of being forced to kind of become a little more institutional or a little more
Yep.
professional in a sense.
Yeah,
And we've
exactly.
we've really saw that pick up. Literally in that same time window that you just mentioned, Archie. So it's
Yep.
great to hear that you kind of have witnessed the same thing.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just a quick question from my end. So you hit on your background just a little bit earlier about you being a trader, but could you go into your background just a little bit more? And around 2022, 2023, what did you see within the market that's, I guess, inspired you to start TTT Markets? And then looking at now, what would you
Mm.
do differently if you were starting TTT now as opposed to back then? And what do you think firms need to consider differently in this era of prop
Mm,
trading as opposed to 2022, 2023 when things were a little bit different?
great question.
That is a good question. Back when I started, I was a trader myself.
Yeah.
I had a community of, let's say, 50 people, just friends, you know,
Hmm.
extended friends that I met online. We were trading with, several of these firms, but there were only, as I mentioned, several firms to choose from. So there wasn't a great selection. We traded and I had lots of funded capital at the time. And then I lost that funded capital very quickly due to the firm's
Hmm.
closing. And that was an issue for me because at that time I didn't have a whole bunch of money relative to today. And, I wanted those payouts obviously, and I needed that capital.
Hmm.
Prop trading really has been, for me personally, quite a life-changing opportunity. And so that's
Yeah.
where it then went, okay, well, I wanted to build something more robust and more solid for the industry, but also it started off as just a very small vision for me. Wanted to build
Hmm.
it for my community. I didn't have a grand gesture of wanting to take on the industry giants and trying to build a
Hmm.
big, big firm. That wasn't really my
Hmm.
initial goal. And my goal at the time was just to build something solid. And you asked that, what would I do if I was launching retrospectively?
Yeah.
I mean, today is a difficult market to launch a
Hmm.
firm. There's a lot more
Hmm.
firms to choose from, and how can you differentiate yourself? You kind of need to have everything from the get-go to compete.
Hmm.
Hmm.
If I was to launch retrospectively, transparency would be the biggest thing
Hmm.
because there are still many firms that aren't that transparent, that don't do like we are doing today,
Yeah.
interviews, testimonial videos, testimonial interviews. So that would be a big, big thing for me because I don't know about yourselves, but if it were me, when I was choosing a firm, let's say, and put myself back into the trader's shoes, does the founder or do the team or do the clients talk about the firm openly? Do they
Hmm.
do interviews? Do they do testimonials? Is
Yeah.
there anyone that's made good money with the firm? Like if,
Hmm.
if your biggest payout at a firm is, let's say, $500 or 1,000, or it's just a few $1,000s, is the firm that reputable? Maybe they're new and they just need some time to adjust and to grow.
Hmm.
But if a firm's got that payout testimonials and that deepness of sort of, let's say, let's put it as liquidity, in
Yeah.
terms of they've been around for a while, they've got money, or they've built another group before, um, similar to yourselves, you're in the business and you understand what the trader needs. So if
Hmm.
I was
Right.
to launch something today, I would expect it to take time. I wouldn't expect it to be
Hmm.
quick. It isn't
Hmm.
quick. You're competing
Yeah.
with, some of the firms that have been around now for 10 years. We've
Yeah.
been around for 4. And
Yeah.
so it's like it just takes time to grow. And I will say over the last year, in 2025 through to now, March 26, we've grown much, much quicker than we even had done in the first 3 years of operation. We've grown more in the
Hmm.
last year than we had in the first three.
Wow.
Hmm.
So, you know,
Wow.
it's or let's say the last 6 months, obviously the timelines are different, but yeah, we've grown a lot quicker in terms of now we've onboarded, let's say, free trials. I put on LinkedIn,
Yes.
just a few days ago, we have like so many free trials running through now. And I was like, I didn't
Hmm.
realize there were this many traders just sitting in the audience waiting.
Yeah.
But they obviously didn't want to part ways with their money to begin with, and they just wanted to test the platform. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, what would I do today? Transparency. That's the biggest thing. That's how people
Hmm.
win in this
Gotcha.
space, I would say.
Yeah, so you hit on something earlier where you said that you started the firm mainly for your community and that you didn't want to compete with the giants. Do you think
Yeah.
that you actually ended up doing the right thing in hindsight, like starting off small, focusing on, I guess, your base community first, and then, growing into who you guys are today, as opposed to, trying to build something bigger right off the bat? Do you think that you actually ended up, setting yourself up to compete with the giants, even though that wasn't your goal to begin with?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. We
Mm,
we mitigated and managed the issues within the space when
Mm,
this industry as a whole was growing, largely
hmm
because we weren't too big already.
mm,
If we had another few zeros on our, database in terms of the clients that we had and the amount of accounts that we had open, it would
hmm
have been more difficult to navigate the space when things were wrong and things,
Yeah.
slipped because of operationally, it's a very, very different beast if you're building something that's so big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, like foundationally, I wasn't in this to kind of make money from the get-go. Like it was seen as I wanted to build this, I wanted to build this product because it kind of seemed like the right trajectory.
Hmm
It wasn't necessarily about, oh, I've seen lots of big firms make lots and lots of money and, it's this opportunity. It was more that I wanted to build something solid to begin with, and it has snowballed into, this machine now that it is,
Yeah.
as a
mm,
business. But yeah, it started off small, and I think you're right in saying that that's sort of set us up now in a better position because we also then got everything sorted. Our
Yeah.
operations were smooth. Our team is solid. We're largely UK based as a team, and the community has been loyal because of that. I think because we put our effort and our focus into speaking to people. We even have people that speak to people on the phone, people that speak to people on WhatsApp. Like you don't have that with lots of other
yeah,
firms.
I saw that. I thought it was very unique. I went to the bottom of you guys' website and I saw what's that. That was very unique.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have people that we have team members that are on there. They're human. It's not an AI response. We have people that
Mm,
can message if you want to message about your account, your metrics, your payout, stacking new accounts, scaling, whatever it is. Like that
Yeah.
is a USP for us that has set us up
hmm
mhm.
nicely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's great. That's great. So Archie, um, I like how you mentioned you guys. So as Vision said, you guys rather it was accidental or intentional, you guys actually did set yourselves up for success. And so you've been around for 4 years. You've gotten to this point now where your growth today is outpacing the growth from the first 3 years. My question is when you started this, I know you wanted to start it as something small for your community. But has that vision changed, right? Does it just stop at prop firm evaluations, or is this something where you actually want to scout out talent that you may create a bigger ecosystem with long term?
Yeah, the vision's definitely changed.
Okay.
Um, when I started, it was mainly for my community and it was for the people that I knew. And it was like, let's build this product that's fun, that's cool, that the
Hmm.
kind of the industry needs. Like back in those days, there were so limited firms, as I've mentioned. The models were pretty average, pretty difficult.
Hmm.
There wasn't things like instant funding accounts or capital allocation accounts or
Hmm.
one-step challenges. It was two-step challenge and that was it.
Yeah.
hmm
And the only differential was if you had time limits or not. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
unlimited time limits, or let's reduce the minimum days from,
Hmm.
seven, whatever it was back in the day, and to then four, and then to no minimum trading days. The
Hmm.
Yeah.
vision now is to be a big firm. It is to compete.
hmm
I'm very serious about trying to get there. That is the main
Yeah.
goal now. Is I want TTT Markets to be a top five firm, top 10
Hmm.
firm. Obviously we'll work our way up the ladder in terms of traffic, sales, customers, reputation.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
I'm in this for the long term now. I'm doing this full time. I have a team that are all full time, and it's gone from a project for me that was for my community and a small group of traders. And to now we've got our own license. We've got our own MetaTrader 5 license. We've got,
Wow.
Yeah.
full-time team, people that now rely on this system, and we're only growing. We have 20 plus people now in the team. That is going to keep growing, and it keeps growing each
Mhm.
month. We now are looking for, yeah, competing with the big firms. I don't see why not now. So I've set my vision has changed. It's now
Yeah.
about I want to build not just a product, but I want everyone to enjoy the product, and I want more and
Yeah.
more people to utilize it. And yeah, when I compare ourselves to other firms in terms of what they've done, obviously some firms are massively far ahead. I'm sure many firms that you've used as well, but they don't have anything that's, that special anymore. It's
Yeah.
just about time and maturity in the industry. And so we want to try and offer something different as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So one question that I have, you mentioned the uh, brokerage side of things as well. So can you take us a little bit, I guess, behind the headline and into the process of what that actually looked like from going from a small, firm with just your community, and then stepping into growing and being bigger, and then now having your own brokerage arm, and then now looking to compete with the big fish within the industry. So what did that process look like from getting from community to then eventually running your own brokerage? And the reason that I asked that is because for any new firm out there, I guess that's the natural evolution, going
Mhm.
from, being unknown to then eventually, having an own like brokerage arm. So I just kind of wanted to see what that process looked like for you and like how that event kind of aspired.
Sure. We we just grew and grew and grew, and then the demand increased. We suddenly had people reaching out to us via support, WhatsApp, and saying, "Can we trade live? Can
Mm-hmm.
we deposit our own funds or take the funds from our prop firm account and put
Mm-hmm.
them into a brokerage with you?" And that demand was getting larger and larger, and we kept taking notes of who was interested. And
Yeah.
that list got quite big. So we were like, let's build the brokerage arm. The
Yeah.
brokerage arm actually infrastructurally needed obviously another level and another layer of things, but we had then the MetaTrader 5 license, so people could then trade live. And it actually deepens the prop firm product as well. It makes it better
Mm-hmm.
for the
Yeah.
prop firm. If you were a firm back in the day, you would just be on another broker's license. So you had then
Right.
like no access. It was basically just you receive the challenge fees,
Mhm.
you then give the trader their account, and that's it really.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's we've got a bit more operational complexity, but we have now liquidity partners, and we have liquidity solutions, we have margin accounts, we can now actually a-book traders. So there
Mhm.
actually can be no conflict of interest with some of our top talented traders that we want to actually keep and we want
Yeah.
to do well with.
That's
Admittedly,
the important stuff.
yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
small percentage of people that are consistently profitable day in,
Yeah.
day out, month in, month out. But we can now provide that, we can now offer that. So that was another big part of the interest for me, is that the brokerage was one demanded by people, and so we knew that rather than sending traders elsewhere, if they were happy with our service, happy with our team, our product, and they wanted to deposit live, why wouldn't they be able to deposit live? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we now have the brokerage arm, as you mentioned, and people can then trade their own capital. Another nice USP is that people can then, take their profits directly from their prop firm accounts, and we offer the ability for them to not even have to do anything with the money. It just can go straight from one account into their live account straight away. So
Mhm.
it makes it easy and
Yeah.
smooth. We, take their profits and their withdrawals from their prop accounts and put them into brokerage accounts is quite a cool, unique part of what the industry can now offer. Like we haven't
Right.
seen that before. So that's something that's hopefully quite exciting for 2026.
Mm. So, hey, Archie, so you mentioned something here, and this is going back to what I mentioned earlier about the difference in the user from 2022 to today is that the user today is a lot more interested in what happens behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I think is very important for the traders that are listening, right, to hear this from a CEO. You mentioned that conflict of interest, right? Um, so what I want to know is from TTT Markets. I know you guys have the brokerage side, and I'm sure you guys are doing things a lot more institutional today than you were in the past. Can
Mm-hmm.
you talk to the traders about that process, right? I mean, you have guys that are getting funded. Obviously, it's no secret anymore in terms of how the business model works. But I think
Mm.
today's time we're seeing as we mentioned, the space is being forced to introduce more institutional practices. But can you talk about what that looks like a little bit behind the scenes? You don't have to give us too much, but just kind of shed some light for the traders in terms of how that works. At
Yeah,
TT.
I'm happy to be very open and transparent about that. I mean, the prop model works similar to other business models as well, in the fact
Hmm.
that the prop is there as a product for the trader to use, and there are going to be winners and there will be losers. It
Absolutely.
does depend on the
Yep.
model. We actually see that some of our models have a very high success rate. Some of them have a lower success rate, just
Hmm.
due to how the models are, the pricing is. Some models that we're now introducing, we actually want traders, we want all the traders to win because it's it's within our interest because we're only making money on the profits and the upside. So we're
Hmm.
introducing something called capital allocation, which is where it's going to be treated more as a first loss policy account.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
People can, trade alongside us within terms of their margin account, so they can put the deposit in. They can basically put up the drawdown and the capital there.
Yep.
So that's something that we're exploring. But that's the interesting part is that back in the day when you didn't have an institutional infrastructure, you
Yeah.
couldn't do as much as you can today. And
Hmm.
Yeah.
so some of the account models that we have, we want traders to, obviously the product only wins if there are people talking positively about the firm, people doing well, and
Yeah.
Right.
people making money. And the only job for us as a prop trading firm is to provide the service that we promise and deliver. No,
Mm.
we see it within a lot of the other firms in the space right now, shady rules, tactics, things that aren't ethical. And so
Right.
as long as the rules are clearly outlined, the models are sustainable from the get-go, firms are doing ethical things by not offering crazy discounts and promotions, then everything
Hmm.
works very, very smoothly. And
Hmm.
we often find that traders that stick within the system, that try a few different accounts, try a few different models, and also consistently stick with the firm, actually do well. We have traders that joined us, back in 2024, and then they get their first withdrawal at the start of 2025, and they keep getting better as a trader.
Yep.
That was certainly the case for myself as well when I was trading. First few accounts you buy aren't very successful. The next few accounts you buy, you have some success with them, and
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's it's not for all traders the long-term end goal solution to be within prop trading products forever.
Hmm.
The
Yeah. Exactly.
solution is to use prop trading as an educational tool to get better as a trader, to be more disciplined, to stick within
Right.
those drawdown limits, and then probably to revert some of those funds and profits into personal trading capital, and then to build that up.
Yep.
But yeah, linking back to your question, behind the scenes of things, it is just more about who the firm are, their ethics behind the firm. There are some
Hmm.
firms that run very, very different models. So you've got to look through those models. And
Hmm.
the ones that often are cheaper and have easier rules are often the ones that aren't going to be as credible prop firms. And they'll be the firms that
Hmm.
you probably have more issues with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why we don't offer now crazy discounts at all, if any,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
Hmm.
we value the product that we have. We know that it works. We've paid out
Hmm.
and pay out every single week tens and tens of thousands of dollars to traders, which is
Hmm.
amazing.
Yep.
And then the trader, you know, has success, and that's why it works.
Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask is the TTT Markets team how much do you guys look into individual traders' performance like behind the scenes? Is that something that matters at TTT Markets?
It does. I
Hmm.
mean, at this size now, we have more traders.
Hmm.
It's not really a manual process.
Yeah.
We tend to look through the traders that succeed with us on a consistent basis, right?
Hmm.
Um, some of our instant funding models on our site, I'd say, every other trader has withdrawals from their
Hmm.
accounts
Hmm.
because it's such a competitive, nice model to trade with.
Hmm.
So those aren't the accounts that we tend to look into too much because the success rate is very high.
Hmm.
Traders tend to win and do very, very well with that product, which is amazing. Compared to, let's say, if a trader has very good performance on a two-step program and they're consistently profitable, they're a very solid trader, very good trader. And so then we can take that data and utilize it. As I
Hmm.
said, now that we've got a brokerage, we can utilize
Exactly.
that data. We
Yeah.
can actually do
Absolutely.
something with it.
Hmm.
So we can now put that onto margin accounts. We can actually,
Hmm.
there is even the possibility, which we're looking into, where they call it a C book, where we're
Yeah.
looking to take the data and to internalize that data and actually make money on the data. You
Right.
know, if a trader trades, we can double up the trades or triple the trades.
Hmm.
If
Exactly.
they're a consistent, profitable trader, which we tend to look at if they've withdrawn 4 or 5 times, we want to trade with them. So
Hmm.
that's where the benefit comes in, is that it becomes quite a big data house where we can see
Yeah.
lots of traders doing well, by default, traders that aren't very good. And so we want to, steer our data towards the ones that are doing very, very well, to see what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
that's something that I think you hit the nail on the head in
Yeah,
terms
exactly.
of utilizing that flow. Because myself and Vision, we've realized this is that the data is the true asset, right? The data
Yeah.
that comes onto the platform. Obviously, you acquire the clients, you get them in the door. But what we like to hear from founders, and you just said
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
how do you guys plan to
Yeah,
how do you really plan to remove that conflict of interest?
exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think traders, if you guys are out
Yeah.
there listening, this
Yeah.
is the guy, this is the firm that you want to be trading for.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Because, like with all the questions that, we ask in regards to brokerage, that's, kind of like one of the answers that we want to hear is that,
Mhm.
you guys are monetizing the flow. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately how you, remove that conflict of interest, right? Because trading is ultimately about data generation, right? It's not just
Mhm.
entry, exit, or whatever, but all those are data endpoints. And the way that, brokerages have already figured out how to be able to run that data is now, coming into the prop firm industry as well. As we spoke about earlier, the prop firm industry is maturing, but the practices that keep this industry sustainable already exist. So it's just
Mm.
about how do you bring those practices in? Because I don't think that any firm can step into the market now and just play the volume game. I think traders
Hell
understand
no.
how the yeah, exactly. They understand the business model. They want to learn more about the business model, and they
Mhm.
understand that the back end of the business model is ultimately what keeps these firms sustainable and ensures
Mhm.
that payout reliability. And yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head,
No,
with
I
that
mean, one
answer
thing
in
to
terms
add
of the
on to
C book.
that
Yeah,
is that brokers have been around for a long time and they
right.
have
Mhm.
been monetizing the flow.
Hmm.
Don't, obviously by default, traders that are leveraging out their positions and acting emotionally in revenge trading don't do very
Hmm.
well by default.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the prop model exposes that because they end up hitting
Hmm.
their drawdown limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's exactly the same as it's been within the brokerage industry for many, many
Mhm.
years. This isn't something that's new
Hmm.
to the prop. Brokerages, you know, often traders, hit their margin call and they
Right.
completely wipe out their account because they're trading with too big a volume. And that's why often for the trader, it's actually good to not have too much leverage. And it's good to take less positions a day, and it's good to just minimize
Hmm.
that risk of exposing your account because each day is different in the market, as we know, and it's been quite crazy over the last few weeks with everything that's been going on in the market. You can lose accounts very quickly, or you can pass them very quickly, or you can just keep your account and sit on your hands, as they say, and
Mhm.
not make too many trades. But yes, the prop industry is maturing, and it's a good
Yeah.
thing. It's not a bad thing. I don't
Yeah.
want other firms to go under. I actually want traders to enjoy trading with a variety of prop firms, and I also want the industry to grow and evolve as it is, anyways, because if
Right.
the industry grows and evolves, everyone does better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you said,
Absolutely.
the traders are becoming more savvy and smarter, which is a
Hmm.
great thing because people educate and people talk about these things very openly, like we are now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
you know, not all firms are routing all of the trades through the market because it wouldn't make
Hmm.
logical sense to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's also slightly different with the prop model versus the brokerage, where, the reason why prop is so attractive is because people put in $500 and they have the chance to trade on a simulated $100,000 account.
Mhm.
But obviously the client hasn't put in $100,000 to trade. So the firm is taking
Exactly.
a level of risk as well by routing those trades from the get-go. It wouldn't make logical sense. So they
Hmm.
have to evaluate how the flow is. Is it profitable? Are
Right.
they acting irrationally? Do they suddenly go from a 2 lot size trade to a 10 or a 20 lot size trade back down to a zero point 0.5?
Yeah.
You get the
Behavior.
idea.
Yep.
So behavioral insights,
Exactly.
and that's what everything is doing on the back end. That's why now that we've launched the brokerage arm of the business, we have a dealing desk. We have people that are checking the flow, that are checking,
Mhm.
traders should they be rooted, should they not be rooted. Um,
Hmm.
so that's all exciting. That's coming up this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great to hear. Just the
Yeah.
level of infrastructure that goes into being sustainable, excuse me, being sustainable and what sustainability looks like, right? So
Mm,
one question that I want to ask on next is you mentioned the first loss basis type of a product that you guys are launching. That's a very I guess allocator type of model, right? Because that's
mm,
what allocators use to, be able to allocate towards multiple traders or multiple different strategies all at once. So I just want to kind of, go into that and, ask about, obviously there's a gap between someone that can be able to consistently get payouts versus one that can truly be allocated towards. So what's your guys' experience been in terms of being able to find allocation worthy traders, and what are you guys, looking into that determines whether a trader is actually worthy of allocation versus whether this person is, just, probably having a good run with payouts and everything like that, but, they've actually, progressed into that next level.
Yeah, it's a new product that we're trying to explore. The trader that
Yeah.
has more capital, that is more interested in long-term growth, they already know
Hmm.
that they're profitable. They still want to trade within a prop trading ecosystem, sort of a
Hmm.
hybrid between trading live and trading prop. We're
Hmm.
exploring that. It's very early stages, so I won't mention too much, but we're basically having it as a premium product where traders are going to be able to pay more, but have better conditions and have the peace of mind that they're going to be a booked from day one, rather
Hmm.
than
mm,
put into the mix with everyone and then we make the assumption down the line they are going to be, given that premium access, but it's going to become as a more pricey product, similar to how prop trading firms were actually back in the day and actually originated,
Right.
where trader would put in the capital that they have.
Hmm.
Let's say it's
mm,
5,000, 10,000, 20,000 US dollars, GBP, euro, whatever it end up being, and then the prop trading firm would actually allocate the rest and provide the
mm,
margin and the access to the market and everything like that.
mm,
So
Gotcha.
that's what we're looking to explore because I see it as some firms have also introduced like a pro tier level institutional arm, like a
Hmm.
trading floor or something like
mm,
that. That's where we're also looking and seeing where things can be more professional. Like we want to meet traders, we want to speak to people face to face as well.
Right.
mm,
Everything in this industry is quite remote,
Yeah.
and I see the next evolution phase to be a little bit more in person, have dedicated teams and departments doing different things within the firm. you know,
Hmm.
as I said, a big part of that is going to be the communication aspect of speaking to traders and understanding people's pain points. Like a lot of people that we speak to on the phone have said, I've been burnt with this fund before or something like that.
Yeah.
And they want to know what the better solution is.
Yeah.
For
Sure.
us, we obviously have the multiple tiers. We're going to have what we currently have, which is a lower entry because not everyone has lots of money and they just want to test the product. Everything from free trial all the way up to, a product that's a lot more expensive. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're experimenting with it, but I think that's the way that the industry is going to go a little bit in
Yeah.
terms of pricing is going to go up, rules are going to become a little bit stricter. There's going to be less rule books like hidden rules and things like that because people are going
Hmm.
to be routing the trades through the market.
Hmm.
So there's no need for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one point that you brought up earlier, Archie, was risk management. So could you go into that a little bit more? What type of things do firms need to consider in terms of their risk management, and what type of things bring in risk for the firm? That way the traders can kind of know how that dynamic works between the trader and the firm, because obviously it takes two parties to create an industry, and each
Yeah.
party has their own level of risk and they both interact with each other. So do you mind just going into that a little bit, as well as that might be beneficial for someone that's just starting a prop firm, or is considering starting a prop firm, for
Yeah.
them to have something to consider.
Yeah. A lot of firms don't allow news trading. That's one
Hmm.
of the big things that people sort of hesitant on or wary of, and that's largely because obviously the news moves the market very quickly. We don't, we don't prohibit news trading. People can trade however they like, whenever they like
Hmm.
at TTT Markets. At least, that's what I've always liked because I think it's quite hard to avoid the news as well when there's so many different news
Yeah.
events going on. Like, I mean, you've got to trade sometimes during the day, and
Hmm.
it doesn't make any sense not to allow that. But gambling is a big part of it. Obviously, some people game the
Yeah.
prop model, and that's fine on the one hand because the model is there to be used. But when
Yeah.
it's abused and people are
Hmm.
doing 20, 30 lot trades, trying to pass the evaluation as quick as they can, then getting onto the funder stage and then maxing out their, position sizes, basically going all in on one singular trade or two singular trades. I think that's when
Mhm.
it becomes dangerous for both the trader and the firm.
Yeah.
So for the trader side of things, they'll end up blowing through a lot of challenges. And for the firm side of things, they have nothing to go off of. They have no
Right.
data, they have no understanding of
Hmm.
is this trader good or are they just completely gambling?
Exactly.
And that's the danger with the product is that, due to leverage and due to the sheer account sizes, a lot of people aren't used to trading 100 or $200,000 account sizes. They then put on like 20, 30 lot trades.
Yeah.
So for a new firm starting today that's, let's say, a bit more risk averse, I would probably just say, look, just keep the leverage reasonable and also, suggest to traders not to do full port positions. Trade
Yeah.
within, trade as they would do if it was their own money. They wouldn't be doing 20, 30 lot trades, or most people wouldn't be at least, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
straight off the back. So yeah, in terms of risk management, how do we control it? We have a good team. Team check through the accounts. We have a lot of human connection with people in terms of our clients and traders. So we speak to people, see what their strategy is, how they're looking to evolve as a trader. Um, in terms of risk management and everything else, in terms of brokerage, it's quite easy because you can just a book the trades and the traders that are, let's say, too risky for you as a firm to absorb.
Hmm.
But in terms of prop, we have good rules and we have good programs. So we don't need to do anything other than just stick within the guidelines of the rules.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And in terms of gambling, maybe this is like a learning point for the traders that are watching. But, obviously on one hand with prop firms, as you said, there are people that try to game the system and being able to factor in the firm structure and their rules into your trading is, one aspect of being successful on props. But gambling, on the other hand, just it makes things very difficult at all levels of trading. Because even on the institutional side, there's this thing called toxic flow which LPs they don't want to deal with toxic flow because they're going to have to be able to deal with that flow and be able to help fill those positions and they need to have their way in order to make their end of that and the toxic flow just doesn't give them the I guess adequate information to be able to deal with that and it makes sense on the prop firm side as well so yeah no that's a great learning point there.
Guys, I want to make a point. Since we're speaking about risk, we're speaking about I guess this sort of two-layer risk, right? You have the firm, you have the trader. Um, and the current environment or the current landscape of the prop space is like the firm is here, the trader is here, and the two are kind of clashing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and we speak about how, it doesn't help the firm for a trader to come on the platform and gamble or have toxic behavior, right?
Yeah.
But to play devil's advocate in this scenario, right? We're in an industry where um, it's kind of promoted that type of vibe or environment to traders, right? It's encouraged, pass in one day, right, or get rich quick, right? So Archie, I want to ask you because obviously I can see that you want this space to get aligned, so aligned that trader and firm just coexist and they have the best, each other's best interest at heart. But how do we sort of fix that? Because the social engineering is completely counterproductive to what a firm needs from a trader and what a trader needs from a firm. So how do we realign that? I want to hear that from a CEO in the space. Um, you
Yeah.
know, how do we go about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of firms are already doing that as well. We certainly are,
Hmm.
where we're trying to tweak the existing offers to
Hmm.
make them more sustainable,
Hmm.
Hmm.
right? The the promotions and the videos and the adverts used back in 23 or
Hmm.
2024 would be Lamborghinis, lifestyle, push, push, push. You know, what is this new product? This is so
Right.
interesting. This is so exciting. A lot of the
Hmm.
traders that are still in the space want to use it as a tool to make money,
Hmm.
but it's not sold as that quite the same way anymore. Or at least I don't feel like it is. It's certainly
Hmm.
not on our end. And
Yeah.
even looking at the competitors, it's a slightly different narrative to the aggressive animated video content style promotions, which were try this new product, get yourself an account, da 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 da. Da. You get the idea.
Yeah.
The product itself needs to be sustainable. right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Then everything else falls in line. If the product itself is sensible, the pricing is sensible, the rules are sensible, the discounts are sensible as and when, you know, a firm needs there to be, promotions for whatever reason, the customer then doesn't have to worry about a firm not doing their obligations, right? At the end of
Yeah.
the day, as I said, I think the synergy is that more props are going to open brokers, more brokers are probably going to open props, and at the same time, more traders are going to do both and take their rewards from one and put them into another, and vice versa. And I think if you use a prop as a tool to actually teach yourself risk management, I mean, I speak for myself. When I used props back in the days, I actually had to learn how to calculate, let's say, pips to draw down to percentage
Hmm.
risk on a trade. Like I had to
Hmm.
go, okay, how do I calculate 1% risk on this position?
Yeah.
I was obviously young at the time as well, and a new person to the industry. But when you're trading personal account, you kind of can just view, okay, your entire account is your drawdown. Sometimes some
Yep.
teams
Hmm.
certainly do that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like they
Yep.
go, okay, I'm going to
100%.
deposit 500 or $1,000. Okay, I'm minus 100. That doesn't matter. I've got 500 in there. But that's a
Yeah.
huge percentage of drawdown.
Hmm.
Whereas on a prop, people are going, okay, you've got an 100K account. Don't lose more than 4% in a day. $4,000. 4,000 relative on a $100,000 account can be considered quite small. It's 4%. But it's good risk management. It's good discipline to not be losing more than
Hmm.
that. If you're losing more than that, you're doing the wrong thing anyways in a
Yeah.
singular trade. So I think the harmony will come, linking back to your question, Chris, is that more people will do both, and the props will
Hmm.
also professionalize themselves, especially as we have done, where they're offering better products, more premium pricing, better
Hmm.
conditions,
Yeah.
and yeah, better support because by default and the nature of this industry, a trader is not going to be right 100% of the time. They're not
Exactly.
going to be, even if they're a brilliant trader. So the
Yeah.
prop model still makes sense for a variety of different traders. And if you then
Hmm.
have a very profitable trader that's consistent, if you have the institution and the institutional backing of deep, deep pockets and also liquidity providers and margin accounts with brokers, that trader can become a massive benefit for you, not a hindrance. You can make money off
Absolutely.
spreads, commissions, swaps, all that sort of stuff, rather than just going, oh, they're a negative to our P&L this month. They can actually be
Yeah.
a positive if they're a very good, consistent trader. And
Hmm.
yes, those are far and few between traders, but there are traders out there that are retail that are still very profitable long term. And I think someone else mentioned this online as well, that the actual percentage of people that now pass challenges and make money and make payouts is much, much higher today than it was back in the days.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay.
More traders are more profitable.
That
Interesting.
that says a lot. So then that says a lot. I guess that's a direct correlation to like what you're saying is, guys are now forced to consider risk management maybe a lot
Mm,
more than they were, in previous years of this trading as a whole.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
So like one angle that I've always saw with this is instead of it just being one-sided, where the firm is there to make all the accommodations, you know, the traders also have to understand that the whole purpose of prop firm, the whole ethos of prop firm is that the firm and the trader has a shared interest. And so at Fintech, we're here to obviously give traders a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Um, but also we want traders to also understand that hey, you signed up for a professional game, right? And you should come to it and play it, as a professional each and every day. So traders, there has to be buy-in from you guys also, and
Yeah.
that way, we can really all make this a very healthy space for the long term.
Yeah,
mm,
absolutely. And then one question that kind of comes up when you mentioned that there's a larger, I guess, success rate within traders. Traders are getting a lot more payouts than they were in the past. What does that look like from the firm perspective? Because obviously we already touched on the fact that, the trader that can get a payout versus a trader that can, really truly be allocated towards, there's a huge gap. But where do you guys find the value in the trader that sits in the middle that might be a little bit more trickier to manage in terms of saying, oh, this guy's in this bucket, as opposed to, he's in that other bucket over there.
yes. I mean, it's an interesting point because traders are often moving between being profitable and not profitable. And,
Yeah.
most traders sit in that bucket, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, the nice thing
Mhm.
about everything now with TTT markets is that we have enough liquidity and a really solid infrastructure that we have a massive vault of profits that are set aside for trader payouts now. That we don't view people individually.
Hmm.
People join the product. We have a massive volume of traders that join each of the products every single day and week and month. And so we could stop sales tomorrow and still fulfill all of our obligations as a trading firm for
Hmm.
many, many months. I mean, we even did the calculations. We could run a year if we wanted to without any new revenue from new
Mhm.
products sold and new business through the door, which is an exciting point to be at. We now
Hmm.
can think bigger and not just, oh, are we going to be able to pay, individual traders their rewards?
Hmm.
That's a thought process that some firms have because they don't start with enough
Yeah.
money. And that's an issue.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You saw it back in the days where people would start with very, very little money, and that's a risk
Yeah.
because then they're offering something they can't, fulfill on. So
Hmm.
we're at a point now where an individual trader doesn't make any deal or difference to us. We actually want traders to win. We want traders to
Hmm.
succeed. I would
Yeah.
say we're probably running a much thinner profitability model and margin
Hmm.
than many other firms because I actually want more of the percentage of the pot and everything like that to go back out to the trader. If a trader comes in with us, they spend a few $1,000s and they come out with $20,000. That's a brilliant ROI, a massive ROI, and
Hmm.
far more profitable for us as a firm because of such good press and good word of
Yeah.
mouth. There is no better business than people coming through your product and enjoying your product and then going and telling their friends and their family and everyone about it. I know
Yeah.
Yeah.
certainly that was the case for me. Back when I started, I got my first payout with FTMO
Hmm.
and I raved about it for weeks. I
Yeah.
was excited. And that's the same sort of level of feeling that we have now and that I can
Hmm.
provide for people at TTT Markets is people can go, yeah, I got paid with TTT
Hmm.
and, I got paid XYZ. And I have a lot of groups and mentorships and people reaching out to me and the team that's saying, how can we work with you guys? Because, we've heard on the street that people have been paid. They come and speak
Yeah.
to us over the phone and they've been paid with you guys and they've had a good experience. And it's just funny that that is now something that differentiates a firm.
Yeah.
You know, people being paid on time as they should be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an exciting point to be at, and it's a good point that we're at now. That I would say we don't look at traders individually, not certainly as a risk line item. It's the model in general. We know that each model, in terms of trading data, is profitable, and if some trader comes through and absolutely cleans the records, that's brilliant. We want that to happen. And if they're consistently profitable, even better, because then we can actually put the margin there and run their trades into the market.
Mhm. Great
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. And then just as we close, do you have any message for the traders?
I mean, the prop trading industry, if you're in it and you're in now, is going to be one hell of a journey coming up in terms of where this industry is going to be within the next 5 years, 10 years. I think it's a really exciting industry to be in. There's not many industries that are growing at this rate in terms of the people part of it, the people at the top. And yeah, I just want to make sure that we run a very, very, we're seen as the safe option to choose. That's what I want us to see as because we are in an unregulated space as of the moment. Still,
Mm.
I'm sure that will change, but safety, trust, transparency, these are big, big things, and that's something that I pride myself on with the team.
Absolutely. Is there any questions from your end, Chris?
No, I'm impressed, man.
Yeah.
You know, Archie, you are the ideal founder and CEO and obviously leader in this space that FinTech wants to align itself with.
Yeah.
And we want to see the prop space as healthy as possible, and we're sure that it needs more people with your insights, your level of leadership. And so, we really appreciate that. Appreciate you, stepping into the pit today and
Yeah.
answering some of the tough
Been good to
questions.
be
And
here.
Yeah,
It's been good
exactly.
to be here. You guys
Yeah.
have answered, you've asked some tough questions, I guess,
Yeah.
which is a great thing to do, and I'm pleased that we have managed to do it. But yeah, if founders can't answer these questions, then they don't know enough as well. You know what I
Yeah,
That's
mean?
a great point.
You need to be able
absolutely.
to understand these things because, and I think a lot of people come into the space just as a business perspective. They're like, I want to create a firm. I see it's a good profitability, in terms of the model.
Mhm.
Actually, it's not as profitable as people think it is. If you're running
Hmm.
things healthily.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, at the same time, you need to be I almost feel like you need to be a trader first. If you're a trader
Mhm.
and then you end up building a prop, I think that is beneficial. I think if people
Yeah.
just view it as, it's like any other industry, like an insurance model or something like that, they're not the same. They're very, very different because traders have
Yeah.
very specific needs as well. As you guys know better than anyone
Yeah.
else, traders want certain things and certain quirks and certain experiences and
Mhm.
Hmm.
want things to be a certain way. And that's why it's good to be a trader
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if traders want to learn more about you and TTT Markets, where can they find you
on our site.
on
Head
our
to the
site?
site. Um, yeah, ttcmarkets.com. Everything is there. Everything that we offer.
All right, perfect. Archie, we grilled you today. You were in the hot seat. You took the smoke. You handled it very well. I think Chris and I are very impressed with,
Oh
the
yeah.
level of answers that you gave, as well as, your skill in terms of being able to answer the questions. And I'm sure that the traders are gonna find a lot of value in what you had to say. But for the traders, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of The Pits. Thank you for stepping into the fire with us and Archie. And we hope to catch you guys in the next one. Be sure to check out TTT Markets on the Fentix site as well as on the TTT Markets website. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, see you then.
See you guys.